everyone! Hope your day is going really well. I am here today to talk a little bit about midwives. I'm here to talk about my experiences, why I chose a midwife, why one might choose a midwife, and I wanted to put out from the very start of this video that this is about my personal experiences. I haven't had 7 kids with all these different kinds of doctors and providers. I understand that I am working with a really small sample size here, so it's just my personal experience. I had one previous delivery, and that was in Hospital A with a OBGYN, and I'm going to be having the second baby in Hospital B with a midwife. So there are a lot of variables there. Not only am I delivering with a different practitioner, I'm delivering in a different location. So take that into consideration. But I'm going to try to speak in generalities as well. So if you're interested in knowing why I chose a midwife, keep watching. So right off the bat, last time I delivered, I had a standard OB/GYN. And that is a medical professional who has 4 years of medical school plus residency time to get specialized in their field. So my first experience with a birth was with an OB, and while my birth was totally fine, like I had a fine pregnancy and a fine delivery, everything was fine. I gotta say that I did feel like there wasn't a lot of communication there, and there wasn't a lot of back and forth. It didn't feel like a dialogue. It felt like I was going to the doctor and my medical professional was, you know, telling me this is what we do, this is how we do it, and this is what's going to happen. And you know, the end result is we had a really healthy baby, and I had a medication, well, I had Pitocin, but I had an epidural-free labor and delivery, and I came out generally okay. I had some stuff that happened that took time to recover from, but that, you know, was neither here nor there. One thing that I did not care a lot about was, although my physician brought to my attention that if I wanted to have a birth plan, I could bring it in, we could talk about it. And generally, the doctor that I was seeing was pretty open. When it came down to it, nearing the date, I had questions about intermittent fetal monitoring and walking around and what I could do because I was positive for group B strep. And the doctor basically said that all really comes down to the nurses on the floor. The nurses are going to be just determining how to monitor the baby, what to let me do, what I can and cannot do. And so even though I felt like it was an illusion of choice, I was given a birth plan, an option to do a birth plan, but really it was an illusion because at the end they basically said, well, all this stuff is really up to the nurses that you get. So once again, I just felt like, okay, like a rug from under my feet, and my birth really, the process of the birth that I wanted didn't really happen. I was in a bed the entire time because the nurses forgot to give me my antibiotics that they said they were going to give me for my group B, and I had all these interventions that I really didn't care so much for. I mean, in the throes of the pain that I was in, I didn't care at the time, but looking back, I just, you know, I wish there was more of my voice involved. Do you know what I mean? Overall, I don't think there was a really large amount of communication, and in the end, I ended up getting delivered by a doctor that I had seen one time. Luckily, that doctor was really great with me, and I know he totally could have given me a C-section because it took so long for Amelia to get down and engage and come out, but thank goodness that he stuck it out with me and let me push for 2.5 hours, because I think I was this close, and if I had another doctor, I probably could have gotten really unlucky. So with my second birth, pregnancy, delivery, I really wanted the experience of a midwife, and because this may be your last baby, I said I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna get hooked up with a midwife. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about everything. I'm gonna talk a little bit about what a midwife is, what a midwife isn't, and what they can do, and misconceptions about a midwife. Because I swear, in even my daily life, I get people who don't know what a midwife is, and a lot of people looking at me skeptically like, are you delivering in a barn? Where are they going to deliver you? Do they have any kind of training? And a lot of questions that could be considered a little offensive because, like, I'm not going to, give me some credit. I'm an intelligent, master's educated individual. I'm not going to choose some random person that just walked out of high school and put on a pair of gloves and said, I'm a midwife, let's deliver your baby. I mean, Give me a little bit of credit here. Come on, guys. But yes, certified nurse midwives, CNMs, they are highly, highly trained individuals. In most states, they require a master's degree. So that is 4 years of undergrad plus 4 years of graduate studies. Plus, they have to maintain a licensure, so they have to take exams and continue their education and attend workshops and read papers and attend extra classes to keep themselves up to date on birth and things that come out and articles and studies and stuff like that. And they have to be certified by the American Midwifery Certification. One of the big differences between a midwife and an OBGYN is that not only is an OBGYN, they go to medical school, they are trained doctors, they are trained surgeons, they are trained to give C-sections, and a midwife cannot do that. But a midwife can do almost everything else that a regular old doctor can do. I mean, they order your labs, they can order prescriptions, they order your sonograms, they do all your monthly, then weekly visits, they can assist in the delivery, they can deliver in the delivery room, they even do postpartum care, which I didn't even know about for the longest time. You can just go to a midwife for your annual well woman checkup. You can get your annual breast exam, your annual pap smear. You can get prescriptions through them. You can get birth control through them, the same as you would for a regular OB that you might go to every single year. And you do not have to deliver with a midwife in a birthing center or at home. You can deliver in a hospital, and that's what I'm doing this time around. My midwife practice is actually a part of the hospital system. So they deliver in a hospital, and they can order you an epidural. I mean, if you really want that. They tend to go with a more natural perspective. They tend to encourage women to walk around and move and use maybe like water or heat or other kind of measures to control their pain than going for an epidural. But if you want an epidural, a midwife can order that for you. And if something were to go wrong or there was an emergency C-section that was needed, they can call the physician up, they can get you to the OR, and you can get your C-section. And so I actually had a question on a previous video where I mentioned my midwife about, is midwife covered by insurance? My experience alone, because they are part of the hospital and they're covered under that insurance plan. As long as my hospital accepts the insurance, the midwife practice does as well. But one of the things that really drew me to a midwife is that they follow a wellness model. And what this means is, unlike an OB who is trained to look at a pregnancy as a medical condition that needs managed by ABC, lab work, all the stuff that you get in your pregnancy, and that's fine. A midwife tends to look at a birth and pregnancy as a normal development or normal milestone in a woman's life. Now, that is, of course, not for everybody. There's plenty of women who get very sick when they're pregnant, they're very ill, they have high-risk pregnancies, high-risk babies, high-risk labors and deliveries. And midwives, as a general rule, do not attend or assist with high-risk pregnancies and high-risk births. They, because they tend to generally be a lot less intervention heavy, midwives have a much lower rate of C-sections, a much lower rate of epidural births, Pitocin births. They can't intervene if there's a medical crisis. So they tend to stay with normal, healthy pregnancies. But the really good thing about that is, you know, as we all know, you can have a really healthy pregnancy all the way, and then at the very end something goes wrong. The great thing about a midwife is because they see so many normal, healthy pregnancies, deliveries, and births, they are really, really quick to spot something that's abnormal because they're so used to seeing really similar paths that the process takes. So they're really quickly able to, you know, refer you to an OB, refer you to another specialist, and if you need more intensive medical care, then that's what the doctor can step in and they can take over from there. Another part of being a wellness model is I feel like that there's just more communication. My midwife asks me questions all the time. She asks me what my opinion is on this, and honestly, the past couple, I'm so kind of not used to that. She had asked me, she just said outright, hey, do you want that vitamin K droplet for the baby's eyes? And it wasn't really an option for me last time. No one asked me if I wanted it. She said if, she's like, well, we'll give you a, a chlamydia and gonorrhea test if you want one right now. So if you don't want the eye drops, you don't have to have them. So the really great thing about this process with her is she gives me facts. She gives me benefits and risks for different situations and lets me make the final decision. And in some cases, I don't really have an opinion yet. And it gives me the opportunity to think about it and consider, do I want A? Do I want B? Do I care either way? And I just feel much, much more involved in the process. And not to mention, when I have my appointments with her every week, she is so involved with Amelia. I obviously didn't have a toddler the first time around when I got pregnant, but she gets involved with her, and she lets Amelia sit whenever I'm getting my checkup, and she lets her measure my belly and hold the Doppler, and like Amelia would like to like lift her shirt up, and she wants the Doppler on her too, and she takes the extra couple minutes to really engage with her. And that could just be a personality thing, but that's another thing that I really, really love about my midwife. And generally, she seems more flexible as well. And that could be a personality thing, but I don't know. I talked to her about different pushing positions, walking, using water, just things that I could do when I'm laboring and when I'm delivering. And she basically said, you know what, as long as it's safe and reasonable, then she totally supports it. They want to get that baby out, healthy, smoothly, and with as little intervention as possible. And if that's kind of the birth that you want, I would say absolutely go for a midwife delivery. In fact, midwife deliveries are starting to take a little, they're on a little bit of an incline, and they're becoming a little bit more popular. An OB assisted birth is by far the more popular choice. But this year, I think 1 in 10 births will be assisted by a certified nurse midwife. And of course, the other 90% are all doctors. But I think a lot of that is people don't really know. I said for myself a second ago, people look at me like, are you having this baby in a barn? Who is catching this baby? Do they know anything about medicine or science or birth? And I think, unfortunately, that's like the general consensus and the general belief is that this person has no idea. They're not a doctor, so they don't know. They can't possibly know anything about how to take care of you. And if there's an emergency, they don't know what to do, and they'll panic and like run out of the room. And that's not true at all. So my hope is that these births are on the rise, and a lot of women I think would really benefit from this kind of relationship. And if you have the perspective that, I want this baby out, I want this doctor to make all the decisions for me, the doctor knows best, I don't really care if I get a C-section, I don't really care if I get medication, I don't really care what tests are ordered, I just want a healthy baby in the end, and I don't care if I have an epidural, if I'm in a hospital, whatever, then you know what? An OB is probably the best choice for you. If you kind of want someone else to take the reins and you don't really care about having a nurturing, collaborative relationship, and some women don't, and that is just fine, then I would say go for an OB. But if you want something a little more collaborative, a little more individualized, and you want to kind of feel like you're a part of the process, I say choose a midwife. So I hope I didn't ramble on too long, and of course I didn't cover every single facet of the differences between both, but if you have any questions for me, once again, I can speak to what my experience is. Leave them down below, and I will, as always, I always try to comment back on everybody, so if you have any questions, I will definitely try to answer them the best that I can. So that's everything, and I'll see you guys for my next video. See ya!